Muito bem, Sr. Bradley, muito obrigado pela sua apresentação. E para a última palestra do painel, chamamos o Sr. Coach Correia, que está há mais de 10 anos na Intrepid Corporation. O Sr. Coach possui mais de 20 anos de experiência em desenvolvimento de softwares e atualmente ocupa o cargo de vice-presidente na Intrepid Control Systems. Sr. Coach Correia, por favor.
Okay, thank you. Very last presentation of the last day. Yes, the Brazilian people are, in fact, very robust. You're still awake. So thank you for being here. I got 15 minutes to talk about technology that I can talk about all day, all week long. So I'm going to really try to get this, do this quick. I'll have to skip some slides. As an introduction, the company that I work for, Intrepid Control Systems, is a vehicle network tool supplier, and our main focus is supplying tools and new technologies focused on vehicle networks. And we're headquartered in Detroit, but I have the privilege, we have a global organization throughout the world, so I have the privilege of going to many OEMs in many different countries and talking to engineers and research people to get direct information about where they want to drive their companies in the future. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Three main things. Broad outreach, also known as automotive Ethernet, big data, I'll explain what that means in a second, and the very exciting new technologies of cybersecurity. And we'll talk about, the big news that most of you know about already, what happened recently that's going to give a lot more focus in this area in the near future. Okay, so automotive Ethernet. Ethernet itself, as most of you do know already, in the past 40 years has grown to be by far the largest networking technology around the globe. It's what drives the internet. It drives the building automation systems in this building and every other building in the world. And the question I always used to get decades ago was, why not use Ethernet in the vehicle? It's well-proven technology. There's two main reasons for that in the past. First of all, Ethernet and normal Ethernet is gigabit Ethernet, which is 8 wires, which is expensive for the vehicle. And even more detrimental to the technology for automotive use is that normal Ethernet runs at a frequency band where its harmonics overlap right on top of the radio band for the vehicle. So you never pass EMC requirements with normal Ethernet. But the hero of the day came in, Broadcom, which is a technology company in California, and they adapted some technology that they named Broad Outreach. And essentially what they did is they took Ethernet and made it a 2-wire interface with wiring that's very similar to CAN or flex-ray wiring, and modified the frequencies, and lo and behold, we can now put Ethernet inside the vehicle. And why is this technology so exciting? Well, most of you know by far the most commonly used networking technology in the car is controller area network, or CAN. Its maximum limit right now is 1 megabits per second. Automotive Ethernet in its current form is 100 megabits based communication. So you can do 100 megabits, 100-fold, but it gets better than that. And what makes it so exciting is that it's also full duplex communication. That means you go 100 megabits in one direction and 100 megabits in the other direction at the same time. So bam, right there you get 200 megabits, 200-fold increase in speed relative to CAN. But hold on, it gets better. I'll explain what even gets better about it in just a second. But before I explain about what gets better about it, I'm going to explain how different it is than CAN. So in the CAN networking world, it's very similar to FlexRay or LAN. It's a bus topology. What does bus topology mean? Bus topology means that all nodes on the network are physically connected to the same wires. In Ethernet, that no longer exists. It's a switched network. That means only nodes connected to each other it's only point-to-point network. And it has some very profound implications for how we use tools and the technology itself. So for example, let's say we have an infotainment system with 5 nodes. And we have console that wants to talk to display. Console will send a message. It'll go into the switch. The switch is a smart device. It'll decide where that message needs to go, and it'll send that message back out to display. But that message will never exist on this part of the network. It will never exist on this part of the network. So the days of connecting a tool, like a CAN tool, to your vehicle and being able to monitor and transmit to any nodes that you want to and monitor all the messages, that you can kiss that goodbye. That's gone with Ethernet. That's the bad news. The good news is that we can have multiple channels of communication happening simultaneously within this network. That means the head unit can talk to the console at 100 megabits per second. The console can talk to the head unit at 100 megabits per second. And then display and speaker likewise can do the same, where we have this example, an aggregate bandwidth of 400 megabits per second as a whole network. Way more than CAN. So this technology is so exciting because it allows for future expansion and more expansion and more expansion. And IEEE is already working on gigabit Ethernet for automotive applications as well. So we see this future as being a very exciting technology. So exciting that we wrote a book on it. So it's a nice 1,000-page manual. The person who introduced me said, "I hope your presentation isn't on this whole book." And it's not, thankfully. But we did write a book on it. It explains all the protocols and physical layers. And as Intrepid Control Systems, we're very excited about this technology. So here's another way of representing for its cost. You can really go very high data rates. So with that said, we often get the question, okay, so automotive Ethernet is going to be widespread across many vehicles. That means CAN is finally dead. CAN's old technology, we're going to throw that out. Answer to that question is absolutely not. What we're seeing is that broad outreach or automotive Ethernet is going to be used in areas that CAN has not been applied to in the past. And with the complexity growing, there's certainly room for a single technology introduction that does not remove existing technologies. So we see automotive Ethernet being used for infotainment, of course, audio video bridging, advanced driver assistance systems, high-speed communication, time-sensitive networking, and as a bridging network across multiple domains within the vehicle. That's also a key application of the technology. But it does not mean that CAN or LIN is going to disappear, because certain applications inside the car, like a door switch, for example, you don't need the extra speed. So why add the extra cost of automotive Ethernet? So LIN, CAN, they work very well. They're robust for certain applications, and we'll see those in use for many decades into the future. And as we've already said in other presentations, what we're seeing is automotive Ethernet becoming the technology, the base technology that is an enabler for the automotive industry technology in the electronics world and the consumer electronics world merging together. Essentially, we're seeing Apple, Google, consumer electronic companies coming into the automotive industry, and the base technology that's going to enable this merge to actually occur into the future is automotive Ethernet. So we're very excited about that. Okay, so big data, next topic. Because now we're going to have much more data in the vehicle than we had in the past, we got a problem, because it means testing and data acquisition is going to yield much more data than what we've seen before. As an illustration of this, I took an OEM's vehicle from 2004, and I measured how much data is on its entire, all networks in that vehicle, how much data is being transferred as an aggregate of the whole vehicle. 5,440 bytes. I took that same OEM, similar vehicle, and said, what does it look like in 2013 model? Well, that's 16,474 bytes, a big increase over 2004. However, I took a development vehicle that's going to be released next year and said, what is that going to look like? So I measured how much data is in that one. So now you can really see that data on networks is not growing linearly. It's going to be increasing by many magnitudes in the near future. We're going to see that across the globe soon. And I call this the Rambo approach of data acquisition. I go to a company, what do you want to do? I know all my data. Get all the network data, give me everything, because I don't know what I need. If there's a problem, I need to diagnose it. Well, that's a great approach for older vehicles, but the problem today with modern vehicles is how are we going to use that data? I mean, we're talking about huge amounts of data. This is just one example. In a fleet of vehicles, we were collecting 1.5 gigabytes of data per hour per vehicle across the fleet of vehicles. So we really struggled to even use that data. It's just monumentally huge amounts of data, terabytes of data that won't even fit on a PC any longer. And the solution that we're driving towards, Intrepid, and we see other companies driving towards, is essentially cloud-based solutions. One solution that we're working on called Cloud Plotter, where you can analyze and automatically look at data, large amounts of data. The good news for the big data solution is that servers and processing power and transfer rates of data on servers, like YouTube, for example, or Amazon, they have kept pace. And these servers can hold and process huge amounts of data in an economical way. So what Intrepid wants to do is, with our software running on servers, we can bring this capability into your company to analyze large amounts of data. I wish I had more time to talk about it, but we just got to move on to the final new exciting thing, cybersecurity. If I was giving this talk, literally, if I was giving this talk 2 months ago, I would say cybersecurity predominantly is driven by fear, because without physical access to the vehicle, this was my opinion, without physical access to the vehicle, there's not much you can do. And there's no way that you can get, have a big threat without, actually physically accessing many vehicles. But the world changed.
It's not fun to have your 2-ton
about 2 weeks ago
hacked just as you're parking in front of a ditch.
Okay, hold on tight. Hold on. Oh.
That's what I've learned from Charlie Miller and Chris Balasek, a pair of hackers who have spent the last year developing a piece of software that can wirelessly sabotage this 2014 Jeep Cherokee.
It hasn't been altered in any way. There are no devices attached to it. But like many thousands of Jeeps around the world, it can be remotely hacked over the internet through a cellular connection to its entertainment system that would allow someone to take over its steering, its transmission, and even its brakes.
Query it for information like the GPS or the VIN or all sorts of other things, but it also lets you just run commands. So you have to first break into the car remotely over the cell network and then move laterally if you want to do things like send CAN messages. And those are the messages that we can use to control things like steering, windshield wipers, or braking.
They plan to release a portion of their exploit code at the annual Black Hat Hacker Conference next month.
So, now everybody's excited about cybersecurity. There's good news with this too, because cybersecurity and cryptography methods for encryption and authentication have been out for many decades and are well proven and used in other industries. So Intrepid's strategy is to enable you to take these standard technologies and bring them into the vehicle. So in our crypto toolbox, we've got all kinds of standard technologies, AES, RSA encryption, public key, a whole bunch of things that I would love to talk about and cannot talk about because of time. But essentially all this functionality is in your pocket. You look at what is inside of a credit card these days. That chip in there is not just some dumb chip. That's a 32-bit processor and capable of hardware with hardware encryption engines, capable of storing keys and being customized by you through standard APIs. And so we're taking this technology, that exact same technology, and offering it up in our tools. And so now we have within our tools, within our hardware, we have a smart card reader, we have a high-performance crypto processor and an authentication processor, so you can encrypt your data and provide authentication so that you know who is on the network is actually the talkers and listeners that you think they are. And this is a new technology that we're delivering called the Intrepid Security Module. Again, given the time, I don't have more time to talk about it, but if you're interested in cybersecurity, we have a full class on it. We are experts in this area. We've been doing cybersecurity for many decades. And in September 15th, the president of the company, who is the expert in technology, will be given a class. So, in summary, automotive threat is very cool. It's being used by many OEMs now in development, and you're going to see that in the near future. It's going to yield much more data than what we have today. That means data rates and data acquisition is going to be more of a problem than it is today, and we need methods to analyze and to use that data, and we see it as the solution to be a cloud-based solution that will provide us as well as many other companies. And cybersecurity will become a fundamental component of vehicle electronics. And most importantly, Intrepid Control Systems wants to help you make it happen. So if you're interested in these things, we'd like to know, more about you, and you can contact us. Thank you for your time.